Welcome to Chalk Talk Sports Podcast, powered by Powering You. I'm your host, Daryl Duvall, inviting you to see us weekly. You can listen to our podcast on Spotify and Google Play. Just a little information on Powering You. Powering You was founded in 2015 to inspire and to light people who are on a personal journey. With that in mind, we decided to create a platform to share the stories of great athletes and the things that motivate them. When it comes to motivations, athletes have to be trained to push themselves to another level. Leaders are trained to find what motivates a team, and a personal motivation drives individuals. In today's podcast, we're talking to Trent Ataya. Trent, I keep messing your name up, man.
Atia.
Ataya, and founder of Book It Sports, a social media platform connecting the sports betting community. Now, Trent, I'm sorry. I kind of want you to go through, your kind of background a little bit before you get to that, your current uh, entrepreneurship.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Absolutely. I actually have a very crazy story of how I came about where I am today. But it all started when I was a freshman at TCU, majoring in sports broadcasting with hopes to be a sports reporter or play by play announcer. I was working for the Oklahoma City Thunder, and we had just gotten Paul George, and I was blogging for a Thunder site. And I had the opportunity to attend Media Day in Oklahoma City and ask, the players questions during the press conferences. And I just knew I had to ask Russell Westbrook a question. I was so eager, and I was the youngest kid in the room by easily 20 years. And I got the microphone and totally just lost train of thought of what I was going to say. Little did I know it was on live television on NBA TV, and I totally botched the question. It went viral within those quick seconds, had 5 million views on Instagram and Twitter, was on ESPN, Scott Van Pelt show. It was a crazy first experience in my world of working in sports, but that's what really led to me being able to pursue several opportunities with internships that I was doing throughout my last 3.5 years at college right now with the Dallas Cowboys, Fox Sports Southwest, and most recently the NFL Network. And throughout that time, when I was working for those, great companies, I just really had my mind sparked on the industry and what innovations could be made to make it better. And when I, did my research and several case studies on the sports betting industry throughout my time as a student, I really just came to the conclusion that there's no real media, central platform around this community, but there's so much engagement going on revolved around it. And one day I was watching a game with my friends. My roommate had money on the heavily favored Raptors to beat the Charlotte Hornets, and the Hornets actually won on a full court shot at the buzzer. And my friend had a hilarious reaction, and I got the whole thing on video, but I just didn't know where to post it. And my friend looked at me and said, I actually made a separate Twitter and Instagram account specifically to post and follow sports betting content. And that's when the idea clicked for me. How is there not a platform out there that's doing this? And there's so much engagement on Twitter and Instagram for sports betting, but it's just so intertwined with everything else that we're already viewing on Instagram and Twitter. There's nowhere where you just know what you're going to see when you go on the app, and that's sports betting. And that's the problem that we're looking to solve.
okay, so let's just talk about Book It Sports app, and I think that you kind of talked about the problem, and um, again, kind of go back through, makes this, how does it work? What makes it different uh, from other like DraftKings?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's of course other sports betting apps on the App Store, like the big names in the industry, like DraftKings, FanDuel, Barstool Sportsbook's coming out soon. Fox now has its own sportsbook called Fox Bet. But we're different than all of those because when you go to any of those apps, first of all, you're unlikely to see any engaging content to be able to connect with other people and see what people are talking about. It's mainly a place for you to place your bets. And, Book It Sports is different from those because when you go to Book It, you create a profile and you start following users. You start, engaging with user-generated content, just like Instagram and Twitter. And Book It Sports is going to be the place that not only sports bettors will go, but expert handicappers who sell their picks, they could do so through the app. And Book It Sports is going to provide so many features for handicappers to be able to not only engage with their current clients, but reach new audiences and ultimately sell more picks. And so we're solving the problem for the user who has a lack of transparency when buying picks from handicappers currently, because there's no site that really displays their record and their tendencies, and you can't really connect with that handicapper the way that you would like to, since you're spending your good hard-earned money on those picks. So Book It allows you to get a better understanding of who that handicapper is, and the handicapper has much better opportunities to sell more picks throughout various portions of the app, either in game, before game, consulting sessions. There's so many opportunities for handicappers on my app to monetize off their expertise, and we want to cater to those handicappers, and we also want to provide as much reason for users to continue coming back. So we are going to have extremely high quality data that would be critical for bettors to consume before making bets on our app, and that will influence others to make better betting decisions and continuously come back and view more content and engage with the community and try to improve their record and keep track of their bets and be a responsible sports bettor while still having the fun of it. But we are not a place where you can go place real bets for the time being. That's the interesting thing about us, is we have several potential routes we could go, but for the time being we just want to validate the concept of a socially engaging platform and how we differ from the rest and how we will be the epicenter of sports betting content. And although there are other competitors in the industry, they will soon realize that we aren't a competitor. We are their companion, who is allowing them to create a profile and reach new potential customers.
So actually, since right now that how do you make your money right now off the site?
Absolutely. So
what is your goal? Right.
So we've got, I've got dozens of revenue streams that we are planning on doing, but the really main one that we want to focus on and validate first is that handicapper selling their picks to the user. And how we profit off that is the user pays a small Book It fee for connecting them with that handicapper. The revenue model was going to be based off taking a small portion from the handicapper, but we don't want to do that because we want them to understand that Book It's the place to be, and we are catering to our cappers, so we don't want to take a portion of their revenue. But once we get an established user base and validate that we are the platform where handicappers need to be, then we plan on charging a monthly subscription for handicappers to be able to sell their picks. But to start, we really want to just build that community, and we understand the revenue might not come right when we launch the app, but that's anticipated because we can't, there's not going to be that much value of my user base right when I launch because I'm very young startup, but I was able to secure an investment that is going to allow me to expand on our marketing plan and acquire those new users that we're doing so currently with social media marketing. We've got a solid amount of people signed up already. They're super pumped about it. We've got about 2,500 users who have signed up for the pre-launch on my website. And we've only been doing this for a couple weeks, and it's really cool to start seeing results already before we even launch something.
And so, what do you right now because of everything that's been going on with COVID? What do you when will the
Yeah, so
when do you have it?
COVID really, honestly, I mean, as terrible as it is, of a situation going on in the world right now, it honestly could not have worked out better for Book It Sports because, before the virus, I was really feeling the pressure to launch a product with, how popular sports was and was about to be with March Madness, NBA Finals, MLB starting, summer kicking in, big time of the year for sports. And I didn't have a product ready, and I was, really anxious about that. And I just, was getting really stressed. And then the virus came along and put a halt to not only the entire gambling industry, but the entire sports industry, allowing me to essentially get ahead of the game during this dead time with my development team. Raising capital, throughout the first month of the virus was nearly impossible. And then thank God that I found an accelerator program that believed in me and believes in the concept tremendously. So I'll be moving to Reno, Nevada in August to attend this 4-month startup accelerator program, who also is an active investor in the company, and also on my board of directors. So things are going in the right direction, and we've got the time we need and the capital we need to execute our vision for the launch of Book It Sports.
And so you went over a lot of stuff from what is Book It Sports, with the new app, what makes it different from we kind of like DraftKings because they obviously doing some different stuff now because is the bottom line is add on. We also COVID-19 in sports, and so one of the last things I want to talk about is you kind of have an element. Where do you see the future of the sports betting? And I'm gonna kind of throw this in regards to high school. Let's just say college. With the NCAA now saying, I mean, they're still kind of aloof about betting per se, but the NCAA is now allowing some of the athletes to brand themselves. Where do you see yourself fitting into that?
Absolutely. So that's a great question, and I think as once sports return and sports betting is bigger than it will ever be, I think we will start seeing actual current athletes, college and professional, start engaging with the sports betting community, and of course not tampering or disrupting the integrity of their respected sport, but engaging with other sports and betting on those, because they have no involvement in that game. And I think it will spark a rise in media engagement and honestly revenue for the sports industry if we start seeing athletes embrace the concept of betting, and being confident enough to bet on their team when this guy's starting, or stuff like that, right? So I really do think that there's a big opportunity there, and I think once the leagues start embracing it more and being more lenient about it, similar to like the legalization of marijuana, we will start seeing new opportunities unfold. Absolutely.
And so the last question I have is, I kind of talked about this at the beginning. So you had two now from TCU.
Yes, sir.
What do you think?
Yes, sir. I was thrilled. I honestly thought we were going to get 3, but 2 I could not be more excited about. Gladney and Rager are 2 highly skilled players. Gladney is a unbelievable cornerback, and is going to be, I think, a good access immediately for the Vikings in the NFL. And then Jalen Rager is an absolute stud. He's a freak athlete, wicked fast, and I think he's going to make an immediate impact for Philadelphia. And then, keep an eye out for some more frogs coming up today, round 2 and 3. And then also tomorrow we've got, Lucas Niang. He's a top offensive lineman in the country. He probably goes second round. And then we've got Jet Anderson, flashy running back. And then Ross Blacklock. He is basically a carbon copy of Aaron Donald. He's an absolute beast. So keep an eye out for those guys. And David Bolasomi too. He's projected to go probably 5th or 6th round, and he's a stud offensive lineman, and there's teams out there who need him. So keep an eye out for those frogs. I think although our record last year didn't really display our talent that we truly had, these guys will make an immediate impact on an NFL franchise.
So, and again, kind of going back to that, have they ever had this many? Remember them having this many players getting drafted like this?
2 in the first round is it might be the first time for the Frogs. I'm not exactly sure on that, but it's definitely, since I've been here, it's hasn't happened. We had Ben Bonagou go last year as well, or 2 years ago, as well as LJ Collier. We've had some Frogs in the Super Bowl win some rings, like Marcus Cannon and from the New England Patriots. And we've got obviously Andy Dalton, who is now replaced by Burrow, but it's really, really exciting to see that, although we went 5-7 last year, we are still getting recognized for the guys we're producing here in Fort Worth.
Well, man, Trent, I want to just taking the time out in your big schedule to kind of do a little, for this interview, talking to you and sharing these minutes with our audience. That's all today. I'm Daryl Duvall. Thanks for listening to Chalk Talk. Take care, and please come next week.
Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you.
All right.